I'm someone who loves fighting games, but also there are times where there are things I don't like about the game so much. Now, usually it's pretty easy to be like, I don't like this character or something like that. But today I specifically wanted to talk about mechanics. In particular, fighting game mechanics that I'm glad are gone. And as a bonus at the end, I'm going to include one that unfortunately came back even though it was gone for a while. So I really wanted to use mechanics from my experience in fighting games, and even this idea came from me thinking about Guilty Gear Xrd, the Guilty Gear game that we were playing before Guilty Gear Strive. Xrd has a mechanic called Danger Time, a mechanic that randomly activates on Clash. After a pretty dramatic countdown, all hits become dash cancelable and normal cancelable, and any hit you get gets a special name, Mortal Counter. This was thankfully scrapped in Strive, but I would be lying if there were not funny moments that happen in tournaments because of this mechanic.
Overhead, you can do it all, and he went low. Oh, danger time. Danger
This
time.
is scary.
Oh, this
Oh
is
my
dangerous
God.
time. Danger time.
Oh.
This is oh my God.
That's it.
But the first mechanic I want to talk about are actually mashy moves, which may sound weird depending on what game you're from. You might think of something like 100 Hand Slap from E Honda or Lightning Legs from Chun-Li, but I'm thinking more of like Sekijin from BlazBlue or Noelle's Silencer attack where she shoots you off the ground. And the main reason I'm not a fan of these moves is not the straight up mashing part to activate it. That I have no problem with. It's usually that at that time you were able to mash these moves indefinitely, but in order to get the specific hit effect that you want, you need to actually do it a certain amount of times. And also I think having the move locked behind mashing can make it hard for people who don't play the character or people who are new to fighting games. Later versions of BB would change Sekijin to 22C, so kind of lining up with Noelle's move. And as far as I'm concerned, this problem has been long fixed. And while we're talking about Jin, the next mechanic I want to talk about is freeze. Now, if a classic anime fighter has a ice mechanic of any kind, usually one of two things would happen. The character that is frozen is in an extended state of hit stun for a long time and would be standing again. And to escape the ice, the person who's frozen would have to wiggle their controller left and right quickly to escape. So this straight up sucks to do. So there's normally a minimum amount of wiggles you have to do. Think about like escaping stun in Street Fighter. And my big problem with it is that if you do it too fast, because you don't know how many times you're supposed to do this input, you can be reset by accident, which is very annoying. If you're new to the game, you could be hit by essentially a freeze infinite if you don't know how to get out of it very easily. And bare minimum, you will take a bunch of damage. In later games, holding to tech would help you escape these scenarios, which is nice as certain characters did a ton of damage from freeze. As a side note, and this is not a mechanic, I do want to actually shout out fighting game developers for making it easier for people to know why they're getting hit by things. For example, there's Street Fighter telling you got whip punished, for Guilty Gear Strive telling you the difference between you hitting someone in recovery, the punish message, or a straight up counter hit with the slowdown. In addition, many games these days tell you where you drop the combo. I think Accent Core Plus R is the first game that does that, and more. It's something I take for granted personally because, you know, I grind these games, but it helps new players, commentators, people who watch casually. I think it's just a good idea all around. And that's because there's so many people who are like, I tech that throw, or I definitely blocked that. So the game will tell you why you did not tech that throw or why you did get hit by that. But with that, let's continue with the list. The next thing I want to talk about are guard cancels. And no, I'm not saying that guard cancels are a mechanic that should be dead and buried. Specific types of guard cancels. So my problem usually comes from guard cancels that let you do actual combos, guard cancels that give hard knockdowns with good amounts of frame advantage, or unique guard cancels that don't just attack but let you move. If you play Grand Blue versus Rising, you probably are pumping your fists about the guard cancels knocking down. I have heard this thing is about to get nerfed in the upcoming Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising patch. Try saying that 3 times fast. But this pet peeve of mine comes from a couple of aspects. So the main thing is that usually the player that is winning has all the resources, especially if the two characters have been playing a lot of neutral against each other. Typically in Arc System Works games, you get meter for moving forward, attacking, doing special moves, whether or not they connect. So high health characters aside, the player that is winning is generally doing more stuff. Now, it's important to note that the player that is losing is also building resources, so it is a huge pain to finally reverse your defensive situation for your opponent to immediately spend resources on a guard cancel that leads into a combo, or leads into a knockdown into mix-up again, or has some type of special effect that just gets them out automatically. And the thing is, this is one that I have personally benefited from. So in older versions of Guilty Gear, Milia has a guard cancel that knocks you down right in front of her, and then you can set up a disc and just mix up immediately. They didn't nerf this until I want to say the last version of Guilty Gear Xrd Sign or Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator, the first version. I do think universal guard cancels also are not perfect, but I think it is a pretty good solution. I did mention not liking guard cancels where you can combo, and you might be like, okay, you play Strive and you just said that the YRC in Strive is not a bad idea. In Strive, the guard cancel has really extreme scaling, so if you do hit somebody from that guard crush state, you basically get peanuts, which I think is pretty fair. I have the being able to combo off your guard cancel and having like a special effect guard cancel basically the same, because usually the special effect guard cancel is some move that the character has that involves movement that you do that now your opponent is vulnerable, and now you can do a full combo. So I'm really glad these are gone. I think these are really unfair, and kind of universal guard cancels are the way. Now, this leads me to the last thing that I'm glad is gone from fighting games in general. It will sound a little similar to what we just talked about, but character mechanics that can be accessed either on wake up or in certain defensive situations. This was a really big thing in like Persona and BB and maybe older Guilty Gear, because I don't think this is really an Xrd thing. But for instance, we have BlazBlue Rachel. Rachel has had a technique for a very long time called the Wind Backdash, where she could backdash on wake up but activate her unique mechanic, her drive, blowing wind in any direction, and use them at the same time. So what it would look like is you would blow the wind at the opponent but backdash, resulting in a kind of makeshift reversal where she backdashes towards you and then invulns whatever you do and then counterattacks or throws you. This was good, but also definitely had counterplay, so it wasn't like the end of the world. Let's say it's just annoying. Anytime a strong zoner has a strong defensive tool like this, you're gonna get annoyed by it. But I think Carl is way worse. So this actually happened to me in an Evo top 8, but I successfully bait a Carl player's burst, and while he's bursting, since he's not in hit stun anymore, he's able to move the puppet and attack me immediately. And they let this cook in BlazBlue for a while. Carl was able to activate his doll and try to do super armor moves on wake up for a very long time. I did mention Persona, and this would be Amada Ken, right? So 2C. This is a move I covered when I talked with Jamcrops about very unfair moves, and Ken's 2C is one of the best moves in the game. It's not even a move that he does, it's the move that his dog Koromaru does, where the dog runs from anywhere and hits you with a very advantageous on block and easy to combo on hit attack. And it was very common for Ken players to just kind of mash this move because Ken is not actually doing anything, it's the dog that's doing something. And unlike other puppet characters like Zato or Carl, doing an attack with the dog doesn't cost any dog meter. That meter is Koromaru's HP. So you have to hit the dog, and we don't advocate for animal violence here, but we do have to hit the dog in order to remove it from play for a little while. So they were really liberal with just mashing 2C, and if you had any gap at all, it would hit you from behind. So I'm really glad this thing is gone, but it took a long time for them to remove this character specific mechanic. So I did say I wanted to end with something that I thought would be gone, but actually came back, which is burst that knockdown. Burst knocking down I think is pretty unfair because it implicitly gives an advantage to characters that want to set things up, because normally the main problem that setup characters have is they need to find an opportunity to do it, or they need to hit you or do something first. So them being able to get it from their combo breaker I think is pretty strong. This is current in Strive right now, but it exists in older games too, like Persona. The main reason why this exists in Strive is because there's no air tech, so you just fall right away into the soft knockdown state. I do hope they take this out of the game, but I'm also kind of cool with it at this point. But in general, this is something that I wish or hope will be not included in future fighting games by ArcSys. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I have been working on a Patreon, especially after the unfortunate second time my channel got taken down due to like hacking adjacent things. So if you want to see early access things or exclusive things, you can check it out over there. If you're interested in Guilty Gear coaching, I do that over on Metafy, metafy.gg/@LordKnight. I stream most days, twitch.tv/LordKnight. That's where we practice, watch events, and also react to things for LK Chronicles, which is my second YouTube channel. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.